Update, my ex-wife wants me to be with her in her last days. It's been almost 3 weeks since I've posted and a lot has happened since. I got some solid advice from a lot of you guys, especially some who messaged me their personal experiences. I'd like to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So here's what happened. As many of you guys suggested, I talked to my wife, we had a long discussion about the whole situation and I assured her that no matter what, she is and always will be my first priority. I also assured her that while I wanted to say my goodbye, I would never act like her husband. It would be more like me seeing a childhood friend or something like that. I also told her I would never spend the night nor would I be alone with her. She was more comfortable after our talk and was pretty okay with the idea of me seeing my ex again. As you guys guessed, she really felt like she was forced into being okay with it when my sister asked, but this time, she really was okay. So I talked to my sister and after a long heated discussion about what my role would be in the visit, she agreed to the boundaries my wife and I set. A week later my sister and I came over to our old marital home. It was surreal cause while the emotions from years before came back to me, I didn't feel any sadness nor hatred or anything negative. I saw my ex, who was waiting for us in the living room and she cried when I walked in. Most of you suggested she was faking it, but while she was still strong, you could tell almost immediately something was wrong with her. I indulged her with a hug and we talked for a few hours while my sister made lunch. I showed her pictures of my kids and told her stories about what they're like. Honestly, I didn't know how I would react after I saw her again, but it just feels like seeing an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. There was no hate or anything like that. I walked around the house and it was pretty much the way it was when I left over a decade ago. I'm not really sure how I feel about our wedding photos still framed and pictures of us still all over the house, but it wasn't really my place to say anything. The three of us had lunch and played board games all afternoon. It honestly felt like we were back to when we were kids and the three of us would hang out together. It was nice. I left at around 6. She was sad but she understood. When I hugged her goodbye, she whispered I love you to me but then said how she's happy I was able to find the happiness she couldn't give me. That part got to me to be honest and I was fighting back tears. I told her I'd see her again soon and she asked if I could bring my kids next time. I told her I would and left to pick up dinner for my family. I told my wife everything that happened and she was quite happy about the outcome. I guess it helped that I brought home her favorite food but she also agreed to let me bring the kids next time. Overall, it was a great experience seeing her again. I feel like I needed that and would have regretted not doing so. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who gave me advice. Also, please don't roast my ex too much. She made a mistake and paid the price but it doesn't mean she's an evil person. This will be my last update. Thank you very much Reddit. My best friend died and I've been hooking up with his girlfriend and helping out with their daughter. It feels wrong. Just to give you some background, we're all 24 years old. My best friend died in a motorcycle accident about a month ago, leaving behind a 5-month-old daughter, which made an already painful situation even more heart-wrenching. I've always had a strong connection with both my friend and his girlfriend. In the aftermath of his death, I've been around a lot, helping out with their daughter, supporting her emotionally, and doing anything I could to make their lives a little easier. As a result of all this, my friend's girlfriend and I have grown really close since his death. It started off innocently enough with just phone calls, being there to listen to her, offering a shoulder to cry on. But as time went on, she started asking if we could hang out more. One evening, when things were getting particularly emotional and heavy, she kissed me while we were preparing to cook dinner. She immediately backed away, regret in her eyes, and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that." Without thinking, I pulled her back closer to me and kissed her again. As we pulled apart, she whispered, "It's been a while," to which I replied, "For both of us." That night we hooked up. The next morning, we sat down to talk about what had happened. She told me that she really trusted me and felt safe with me around. She also confessed that she hadn't expected me to be as present and supportive as I had been, but she was grateful and wanted to explore where this was going. I agreed, but I emphasized that we needed to communicate more than ever because our decisions would affect not only us but also her daughter. So far, things have been going well. The baby is thriving, and even though she can be quite the handful at times, as any newborn is, I do really love her. I've been there for all of the appointments, and I've barely spent any time at my own place recently, which I don't mind. But it's safe to say my life has changed dramatically over the past few months. The thing is, I'm still not sure if what I'm doing is right. It's been messing with my head. I don't know if it's a bro code thing, but I can't help but feel like I didn't think this through properly. It was a big step for me to take, and while I like where things are going, I can't help but feel conflicted about my loyalty to my friend. If he were still here, I wouldn't be in this situation right now, and I don't know if what I'm doing is right, wrong, noble, or just plain crappy. Thanks for reading. Update, my Tinder date turned out to be my childhood nemesis. Honestly, this update came sooner than I'd have wanted since everything didn't go as planned. The original plan was to get a similar balloon as you suggested. Thing is that balloon was slightly complicated. It was one of those heart-shaped ones and had multiple colored dots, so it was going to take a bit of time to find one. I also managed to find my old photos during my time in hospital from my mom's album. Generally, I was going to stick the photo to my forehead, have the identical balloon with me and wear something identical to those hospital gowns, call her over and let her get dumbfounded by what's going on, and then clutch onto my balloon for dear life, and say this time she can't take my balloon, then have her figure it all out by herself. Okay. Maybe not the gown thing cause I can imagine it being really weird from her perspective, but you get the point. To make it reminiscent of that time she stole my balloon. The reaction, Valp, those plans ended when I got a call from her telling me I wouldn't believe a post she saw on TikTok from a Reddit post, and then proceeded to explain my whole post to me, and at this point my heart was racing. She asked if it was me but I denied like my life depended on it. Like I didn't even know what Reddit was and said she was trying to mess with me. Even after she told me to search it, I still said I didn't see it and used that moment to ask her to come over to prove it. And then later, she did show up and immediately had her phone to my face laughing and saying there was no way this wasn't me because of the timing and details. I still denied, and eventually when we were sitting down listening to the post together, I said it's so crazy and she asked me one last time to reaffirm to her that it wasn't me and I told her no, it wasn't. The confusion she had was funny because I could tell she was trying to wrap her brain around this. And I was like, it's so crazy that these things happen. Then slowly started mentioning the accurate details, like along the lines of, it's so crazy that you'd meet the person who stole your heart-shaped spotted balloon as a kid on a busy hallway, and then not tell her it was you, and instead make a whole Reddit post because you planned to surprise her, but the post landed on TikTok and she caught wind of it and you're still denying whilst literally sitting next to her. And midway between that, she was already gasping and she hit me with a cushion, telling me to shut up. I legit couldn't contain my laughter and she was pacing up and down saying there was no way this was happening, and I said it was me and that it was about time she gave me my balloon back. I even went to fetch that album and showed her my pictures during my hospital stay and she immediately started apologizing. I told her I was over it and the post was over-exaggerated for clicks, but she said she still wanted to apologize anyway, and I also apologized not saying it then because I didn't think she would have believed me, and she said she definitely wouldn't have. We talked a bit more and she promised to buy me a balloon.
I am very much jealous of my husband's ex-wife. I 40 female and very much jealous of my husband's 50 male ex. Our relationship started with an affair. I know it was wrong. Their marriage was on the rocks and my husband wanted to end it. When she, 48 female, learned about the affair, she didn't scream or shout at me. She was rather calm. She only asked me if I truly loved her husband. I said yes. She told me that if I am going to be a part of my husband's life I better treat her kids, 19 female, 16 male and 14 female, with respect and not push them to accept her. She didn't even create any hassle in the divorce. Things were tough. My husband's parents and friends really criticized us and his parents almost disowned him. If it wasn't for his ex they would have went with it, but his ex convinced them to not cut them off. Their parents did forgive my husband, but I still feel like an outsider to them, but they do love our kid, 4 male. My husband's ex is very different. She never held a grudge against me, always pushed her kids to have a relationship with their dad. His oldest doesn't talk to him because of the divorce, and it always hurts my husband that his daughter wants nothing to do with them. The rest of them are good. They do not love me, but they are very civil. She never badmouthed me or called me a homewrecker. She did her best for the kids. She still tries her best so that her oldest daughter has a good relationship with her dad. I used to think she is a silly woman for not holding a grudge. She was always nice to me. When I was pregnant she first congratulated me, and even though she wasn't invited to my baby shower, she sent me a diaper genie as a gift. I always felt guilty that I hurt such a pious woman. To make it more complicated, she is in a relationship with my cousin, 45 male. My parents love her. Uncle and aunt love her. Even my cousin's kids love her. She never discriminated between her kids and mine. She always sends some cookies or extra food for my son with her kids whenever it is their visitation time. She even met my son and treats him like her own. For the longest of time I wondered why she is like this. Is she trying to win her husband back? I even asked her why she doesn't hate me when I was her husband's mistress. She told me she doesn't see the point because whether or not she hates me her marriage was over anyways. I am jealous of her. She is not just beautiful but also graceful. I know I was very much younger than her when my husband started the affair, but I can say she is much more better looking than I am, even if I took her place in her husband's life, but I can never be her.
Update. My students use sign language in class and I found out something horrific. Hi everyone, here is the update. Once again, thanks to all the support. This is written late at night and I'm tired, so it's once again very poorly written, but I will try my best. So I talked with Jay, her mentor, and someone else from school. I talked with them alone before we talked with Jay so they would understand the situation better. Jay's mentor was the one to talk the most because I wasn't sure what to say, but when Jay's mentor, let's just call her M, asked why Jay did all of this, Jay started crying and didn't want to talk anymore. M wanted me to leave because she believed Jay didn't want to talk because I was there, so I left. A little bit later I was called by M. She wanted me to come and talk about what happened and what Jay told her. Like a lot of you already thought, Jay had a rough time at home and was indeed being abused, not physically by her parents but emotionally. Her parents constantly favored her younger sisters over her and, in Jay's words, don't care about her. Her older sister would regularly bring multiple boys home while babysitting Jay and her sisters, which is probably one of the reasons Jay learned about intimate stuff. A lot of others in the comments thought Jay was being essayed at home, but that's not what is going on. Jay told M that her other classmate, L, who is 2 years older due to having to repeat a year, essays Jay. Jay says that L claims that this is what love is, and that's why Jay thought that it was okay to say those things about me because she loves me. Jay explained to M that she didn't mean it like that and that she wouldn't want to hurt me. Apparently Jay had the feeling that she was in love with me and told this to her friends. They taught her that the things she said, like stalking me and potentially breaking into my house, are part of being in love, and that's why she did it. I saw another comment saying that Jay acts like this towards me because I'm one of the few nice people in her life. I'm not sure. Jay did not say anything that would prove that, although I think that's probably what's going on and that's why she thinks she's in love with me. I really can't think of any other reason why a 12-year-old would like me. This is all I know now. All happened today. although I don't think I'm gonna get more updates on the situation. M is, like I mentioned in a comment, not one of the best people ever, so I doubt she will involve me further. But if everything Jay says is true, I hope she gets some help and possibly a new home. I would love to update further, but that's only if I get updates myself. Have a good night to everyone still awake.
My date slapped me. Hi, last night I was kind of taken aback by my date. We met on a dating app and have been texting for a few weeks but made last-minute plans to get a drink last night. So we got a few drinks and then he asked to go to my car. I figured he wanted to kiss, so I said yes. He was such a gentleman. He opened the door for me to the bar and to my car, which I thought was so sweet. Most people don't open car doors on dates anymore. So we started making out in the car, but it was soft and gentle. Then he starts biting. After a few minutes, he asks, can we drive somewhere else? It's close to my house, so we went to a park I know close by. So we get to the park and start making out again. Then I climbed on top and sat on him while we kissed. It started getting a little rough with lip biting and light neck touching. Then he lightly taps my face on my cheek with his fingertips, and I remember thinking, that was so soft, he'd better keep it that way. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when I stop kissing him and look up at him, he does it hard. I was so shocked I didn't know what to do. Then he did it again, but even harder. I was honestly scared. He was so gentle at first and was so delicate with me, licking and kissing everywhere so passionately. Then all of a sudden, smack. I understand this is personal liking of his, and I didn't know what to say after. I've never had that happen before, and I don't think I liked it. Before he did that, he whispered, "You're safe," during the neck touching, which I do like, and maybe the soft taps were a warning that he was about to really do it to me, but I was really caught off guard. I thought maybe if someone were ever to do that to me, they would ask before or wouldn't do it so hard. I mean, that was one of the hardest I've ever had. I've only ever had it on the bum, which that's saying something because on the bum, they go pretty hard. I don't know if I should just embrace the BDSM or obviously tell him I didn't like that. But my biggest concern is that he may end up physically hurting me. I just found this very odd because we never discussed these things beforehand, and this was our first time meeting. Very bold of him, I thought. I think my husband is using his weekly poker nights as an excuse to meet his secret boyfriend. My husband Jake, 35 male, and I, 33 female, have been married for 7 years, and I love him deeply. He's a surgeon, and on most Tuesday nights, he heads out for poker games with the boys, colleagues from the hospital. But lately, I have been noticing some odd behavior on his part that makes me question the authenticity of these poker nights. It all started 6 months ago when I decided to surprise him with a packed dinner on one of his poker nights. Who doesn't love a homemade meal while they gamble? What I saw, or rather didn't see, when I got to his friend's house, where the poker games are supposedly held, was concerning. The lights were off, and there were no signs of any poker game happening. Jake was nowhere to be seen, and our common friends had no idea about any poker night. From that day, I began to keep track of his schedule more closely. I noticed that during these poker nights, he would turn off his cell phone, something he never does because of his profession. At their conclusion, he would often stagger home way past midnight, reeking of alcohol. He also started taking more care of his looks. He'd started working out, got a new haircut, and his wardrobe had become noticeably chic. One day, I decided to casually talk to him about it, but as soon as I mentioned it, he got overly defensive, even accusing me of being controlling. That was the first time in 7 years I had seen him react so aggressively. Jake had always been an open book. Why was he suddenly an impenetrable fortress? Odd, right? Now the kicker. As I was dusting our room, a guest receipt for a city boutique hotel fell out from Jake's jacket. The date on the receipt? Last Tuesday, the same Tuesday he was supposedly out at his poker game. What he was doing in a hotel while I was under the impression that he was playing cards is beyond me. Believe me, I don't want to assume the worst, but an encounter with one of Jake's colleagues at the grocery store made my heart drop. The colleague let slip that Jake had been spending a lot of time with his new resident, Tom. I admit I snooped on Tom's Facebook profile, only to find a picture of Jake and Tom at a fancy restaurant, dated Tuesday. These circumstances made me question my husband's loyalty. Could he be romantically involved with Tom? Is he using his so-called poker nights as a cover to meet Tom? My heart says no, but the evidence is stacking up against him. I'm in a dilemma because I don't want to confront him without being sure, nor do I want to break my marriage apart at mere suspicion. I need help, advice. And if anyone has been in a similar situation, your inputs can lend me some courage, and please, serious feedback only. I am so lost right now.